Sean Dyche has reacted to him being linked to the Tottenham Hotspur manager's job. He's come out and said that Spurs are a massive club. Tottenham are a brilliant club. Dejan Kulusevski has stated that he aims to be back playing for Sweden at this summer's World Cup. Club legend Teddy Sheringham has come out and said that Igor Tudor needs to be sacked, but Spurs should not be appointing another manager without Premier League experience, and Spurs need to get this done as soon as possible and do not dither around. And Spurs Women boss Martin Ho has just signed a new deal at the club. He also talks about how ambitious the Spurs Women are. Hi everyone, hope you're well. Chris Cowlin here. This is another edition of Tottenham News, where I'll be going through all of the latest Spurs news, rumours and reports. If you're watching this on YouTube, please do hit that subscribe button, like, share and comment below. And if you're listening to this on an audio platform, please do hit the follow button and leave a review if you can. Let's start by talking about Sean Dyche and the links to Tottenham in the last couple of days. He has just appeared on TalkSport talking about the links to Spurs. And he said, I was up the pub up the road and this guy goes, you're meant to be in talks with Spurs tonight. And I said, well, I'm standing next to you having a pint of Guinness. So it is unlikely. When you're linked to a club and you get constant clickbait, and no matter what you do, it is a tricky situation. When you're a manager, you know you're going to get asked these questions at some point. When you get asked them, you try to be respectful. Tottenham are a brilliant club and a massive club. So when you say I'm flattered, everyone then goes, he hasn't said no. Now, in the last couple of days, Dejan Kulusevski met up with his Sweden international teammates and manager Graham Potter. He was seen limping. Now, a number of reports came out from those videos and those posts online. Now, he put an update out on Instagram, and then he has been talking to Swedish media outlet Viaplay about his current injury. He said, I understand that people were worried, but it really was for the wrong reason. It was a really positive thing that I did this procedure and we were able to find the problem. Now everything should be solved. Now it is a matter of slowly and surely coming back. I can see the light. It feels better now. I have a really positive feeling about the two important games for Sweden and a World Cup in 2 or 3 months. This is how the book and the chapter will end. I'm convinced of it. Now, just for a bit of context, a couple of days ago, Dejan Kulusevski wrote the following on Instagram after the videos were posted of him limping around the international camp. He said, just to clarify things, I'm limping because I had a small intervention in the knee 2 weeks ago. I went in and took out what was not supposed to be there. Knee is great now. Thanks for all of the support. Now, Tottenham Hotspur legend Teddy Sheringham has been talking about Igor Tudor. He has also been talking about a possible replacement for Tudor, and he has also been talking about Tottenham's current situation. This is what you had to say.
We're concerned. You know, why has it all gone quiet at Tottenham Hotspur? It's the England international break. Obviously, the Welsh are playing as well, but it's the international break, and it all seems to have gone quiet at Tottenham. Tell you what needs to be done. If this fella is getting the sack, which he should be, you know, let's look at the results on the football pitch and let's have a look what's been going on. I think he's got 1 point in 6 games, is it? Might be 5 games, I'm not sure, but 1 point in that time, and the team looking in disarray still. So let's assess that. He needs to go now. I'm hearing that they're having talks with another foreign guy that used to manage Monaco. He's from Austria, I think, that used to manage Monaco. What does this guy know about the Premier League? What does this guy know about the Premier League players, about the stadiums, about the pitches, about the players that he's got at his disposal? What the hell is going on at Tottenham Hotspur? Why are they looking down the foreign route that knows nothing about the football club or the league that he's going to be playing in? Please do not make this mistake again. I don't know who's making these decisions to go and speak to these people, but it's wrong. Have a look at what's going on and what's needed. All it needs is a bit of love towards the players, a little bit of confidence boost, because we have got very, very good players at the football club. Put them in their rightful positions, a manager that knows what their rightful positions are and who gels with each other. Work it out. He needs to go in now. I know everybody's away on international duty, but he needs to go in now to understand the football club, get around the football club, talk to people in the football club, find out what's the missing link, find out what the problem is. He needs to go in now, not at the end of the international break, so 2 days before, and he goes in and then he's got 2 days to work it. There's people there that he can start influencing, getting his point across, getting a wave of what he wants to be happening when all the international players come back and they're ready to play. It needs to be done now. Why are you dithering? It needs to be done, otherwise you're getting relegated.
Now, the Spurs women are in WSL action on Saturday evening, 5:30pm kickoff. Spurs travel away to North London rivals Arsenal. The game will be played at the Emirates Stadium. Arsenal are currently 4th in the Women's Super League and Spurs are down in 5th. Now, on Friday morning, I spoke to Spurs women boss Martin Ho. He has just signed a brand new contract at the club. We spoke about a number of things, including how ambitious the Spurs women want to be in the future. This is what he had to say.
Morning, Martin. Many congratulations on the new deal.
Thank you.
Just wanted to ask you about Ella Morris. Is this the game when she returns?
Yeah, this is obviously after today I'll make a decision on the squad for the game. So everyone available if they come out of training today, and then I'll make a decision on squad and starting 11. And by doing that, obviously Ella puts herself in that contention to be selected in the squad.
Obviously, Koga has been away at the Asian Cup. How much have you missed her in these last couple of games?
Yeah, I think someone's presence like Toko, I think young player, calmness, definitely gives away a really relaxed aura as a player, and definitely settles the team down in terms of with and without the ball, but gives you an intelligence, and we've got wonderful players in those positions, and when you lose a player like Toko, who's been probably vital in parts of the play we've had, and the performance we've had over this period now, you're going to miss players like that naturally. So yeah, we'll miss her, but now she's back. We need to make sure that we use her qualities, but use her mentality that she's just come back with from the Asian Cup.
Martin, it's quite unbelievable that the last couple of games you've lost, but it's the first time this season you've actually lost 2 games in a row. Now, the games coming up, of course, Arsenal and then Chelsea and Manchester United, this is going to be a very tough period for you. Yeah,
and every game we go into, whether it's Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United or not, every run's tough. I don't think there's a game now where, and we've seen that against Everton, if you're not at your best you get punished, and we wasn't. So yeah, when you're not at your best you get punished, and no matter if it's the teams above us or the teams around us, we have to make sure we perform, and not one game defines you and not one game defines your season. We have to keep finding ways in performance that we can be better, and I believe after the second half, especially the second half against Man City, we know the levels we can actually get to. We were very dominant in that half, and we pushed them back quite a lot, and if we can find that level of form and that level of consistency within our performances, we can compete against anyone.
And lastly from me, of course, the opponent's Arsenal at the weekend. They've won their last 10 in all competition. You know this is going to be a very tough game, but of course you kept them to a 0-0 draw at Brisbane Road back in November. How difficult is this game going to be?
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. I'm under no illusions. We're not going to be able to just turn up and think we're going to have it our way. It's going to be difficult, as you just said. Then they're 10 unbeaten in all competitions. They're full of confidence, full of belief. They've got goals coming from every part of the pitch. So I have no doubt that they're going to be right at it. It's at their home ground, and we're going to have to at times suffer without the ball and be prepared to do that. But when we have the ball, we're going to have to express ourselves really well and make sure that when we go there, we apply ourselves. And we don't take the occasion in, we just play the game.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Martin.
Cheers, Chris. Thank you.
We'll finish up with one more from Chris.
Sorry, Martin, I just wanted to go back to talking about your new deal. What is the length of the deal? Can you tell us any more on that? And also, what I wanted to ask, going back to Rachel's point about the good first season with previous managers, Andy Rodgers on a number of occasions has said, that he absolutely loves the work that you're doing. Is the ambition, taking Spurs all the way to the very top and competing for the WSL title, being in that top three, and have you had conversations about the time, the patience, and the ambition? Most importantly, getting in the players constantly in transfer windows.
Yeah, I think moving forward, I think the extension, the length doesn't really matter, Chris. For me, it's more what we do within the time period that I'm here, and taking every season as it comes. I think if I'm looking at the duration of something, you look too far ahead, and I'm just focused on what we're going to do now, what we're going to do in the next window, the next season, and so on. And while I'm here, I'll make sure I work tirelessly to make sure this team and club can be successful. And we're always in discussions with leadership, myself, Andy, Vinay, and the wider leadership team to make sure that we're in a position where we're bringing in the right players, the right profiles for this club. There's a real ambition and desire from not just leadership but from the owners to invest in this team, and they've been really, really good in believing in me to lead this project and team moving forward. And we're in a really good position moving forward now into the summer transfer window, and we'll continue to do that. There's a big energy and a big desire behind everyone at this club for the women's team to be successful, and we know what it's going to take. We need time to do that, but I have no doubts with this club and the ambition of the people around me that we're going to go and achieve it. It just takes time for that to happen, and if it wasn't, I wouldn't have stayed here. But I have a lot of belief in what we can achieve here. My opinion, it's like a sleeping giant.
Thank you.
Cheers, Chris.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Cheers, thank you.
Now, my thoughts on everything in this episode. Let's start by talking about Sean Dyche and his links to Spurs. He's come out and said that Tottenham are a massive club, and they are a brilliant club. I tell you what, a lot of us don't feel like that at the moment, but let's hope that Spurs will be back and we will be smiling about the club that we all love and adore in the near future. Spurs at the moment are sitting 1 point above the relegation zone, and it could be that Spurs are in the bottom three the next time we play. We play on the Sunday against Sunderland, and on the Friday evening, West Ham host Wolves. So if they win at the London Stadium on that Friday evening, Spurs would fall into the bottom three. I tell you what, if that does happen, I think I'm going to feel physically sick looking at the league table, seeing Spurs in the bottom three with 7 games to go. And I think it is very, very fair to say at the moment that Spurs need a change. I agree with Teddy Sheringham saying that Igor Tudor does need to go. I also agree wholeheartedly with Teddy Sheringham's comments, all of it, in fact, where he's saying that Spurs are now being linked to Adi Hutter and other managers as well without Premier League experience. Why on earth would you go down that route? And this is exactly why the likes of Sean Dyche, Sam Allardyce and co are being linked to this job. I tell you what, I'm sitting here at the moment, and I don't think that any of us Spurs fans, any of us, can afford to be snobby about who is going to get Spurs out of this mess. There are so many people putting themselves forward, former managers, former Spurs players, etc. Gus Poyet is the latest one. Tim Sherwood, I spoke to Tim Sherwood on Sky Sports the other day. Again, he was coming out and saying that I would keep Spurs up if I was given the job. Glenn Hoddle's come out and said it. Harry Redknapp's come out and said it. There are so many people who are willing to help Spurs get out of this mess, and this is exactly what we're in. We're in an absolute mess. I tell you what, the game last week at home against Forest, everyone expected Spurs to turn up. Everyone expected the team to show more fight, more passion, more desire, more grit, determination, especially when the fans showed so much passion before the game, turning up, thousands upon thousands of fans down that high road. It did remind me a little bit of the parade, the Europa League, 10 months ago. It was incredible. And I thought, if you're a player on that bus, you're looking out, Igor Tudor and all of the players on that bus, if you're looking out all of those fans, the passion in people's eyes, everything about it. If the players can't be up for something like that, I am very, very worried. I really am worried. And I'm worried about the fashion and the manner that we are losing these games. Igor Tudor, the 5 games that he has managed in the Premier League. I know, of course, the 2 other games, Atletico Madrid away and at home. But the 5 games in the Premier League, Arsenal we lost 4-1, Fulham we lost 2-1, Crystal Palace lost 3-1, and of course the other defeat 3-0 against Forest. And the only point that Igor Tudor has picked up so far as a Spurs boss in the Premier League was that unexpected point away at Anfield against Liverpool, drawing 1-1. But the 4 defeats, we have been extremely well beaten in all 4 of those games. And I've said this before on this channel, the Fulham game, it might look close on paper 2-1, but they absolutely battered us. They should have scored an absolute hatful. The Crystal Palace game, that was, I think, another turning point, another really low point. I could talk a lot about low points this season. West Ham, losing at home against West Ham under Thomas Frank, that was a low point. Losing home to Crystal Palace recently, that was an extremely low point. And I said on the podcast straight after that game, it just felt like slow motion, just thinking, what on earth is happening? When I looked around me, everyone felt exactly the same. It was like that real reality of, goodness, Spurs could actually go down if we carry on playing like this. And at some point, you think that we're going to have this turning point, and you think that Spurs are going to turn the corner and it is going to change. And I'll be completely honest, and I think a lot of people are going to agree with me here as well. The point at Liverpool, it felt like a turning point. It felt like something has shifted and changed. Of course, a couple of days later, it was a really, really good performance, and we haven't been able to say that in the last couple of years, let alone just this season, especially at the home games. But that was a really decent performance against Atletico Madrid, beating them 3-2 in the Champions League. But of course, it didn't mean anything. But you felt that performance, going into the Forest game, was going to help us out, and it was going to give us confidence, not only from the fan base, but of course the team itself, Igor Tudor, etc. But Igor Tudor, I tell you, when the team lineup come out against Forest, everyone I know, certainly in the stadium, was scratching their heads going, why on earth is Javi Simons not playing? Some of these decisions that Igor Tudor has made has just been baffling. Really, really have. My condolences again to Igor Tudor and his family. Of course, Igor Tudor sadly lost his father on the day of the Nottingham Forest defeat. But, for these remaining 7 Premier League games, I just feel like now is probably the most, it's right timing, probably the best timing. Igor Tudor spends time with his family as he should do, and concentrate on family matters, and Spurs, go and appoint somebody else. But I completely agree with what Teddy Sheringham said. If you're then thinking about bringing in someone like Adi Hutter, who has, again, no Premier League experience, I just don't agree with this decision-making whatsoever. This next decision is absolutely vital to the future of our football club, because like Sheringham said at the very end there, otherwise you will be relegated, and you cannot dither on these decisions. A decision needs to be made as soon as possible. Of course, it needs to be done in the right way, especially what's happened with Igor Tudor personally. But you need to give that, you need to give a manager a chance now to come in and get as many points as possible and galvanise this squad and put some confidence into some of these players for the remaining 7 games, because it does really, really worry me, and I've said this in recent weeks, how much desire, passion, grit, determination that everyone else around us is putting in. Every single team we're playing at the moment, it just seems to be an easy game for them. And like I said, we're being very well beaten in these matches. And these are teams in around us as well. And you cannot be losing these types of games, especially when we're playing teams in and around us. The April games in the Premier League, there's 3. And they are Sunderland away, Brighton at home, Wolves away. And then, of course, in May, we finish with Aston Villa away, Leeds at home, Chelsea away, Everton at home. What's an easy game? There are no easy games in the Premier League, and everyone is fighting for something. Even Wolves, they're fighting for pride. And, they're playing extremely well as well. And they've all won more points than us in the calendar year of 2026. And Spurs are still the only Premier League team in 2026 without a win. it's embarrassing, and these players need to give a lot more. Whoever does come in, or whether Igor Tudor stays, which I really hope that isn't the case, they need to get more out of these players. We know that these players are far more capable of what they're giving at the moment, and the attitude needs to change as well. The fan base are behind this team, the fan base are behind the squad, and the fan base are trying to be behind the manager. But of course, I don't think this has worked out. But sometimes in life, not just in football, sometimes in life, we all make errors. We all have made a decision, and then it might even be a couple of hours later. It might be a day later. It might be a week later. It might be a month later. But I tell you what, at some point, we all say in the back of our minds, I got it wrong. Shouldn't have done that. Should have made this decision instead. But I tell you what, it's about being accountable, and it's about actually putting your hand up and saying, look, I got it wrong. And this is exactly what Spurs need to do at the moment. This board need to actually say, look, we got it wrong, and we are now going to go down the path of appointing X, Y, and Z. I've said before, I just think that it needs a former manager, a former player coming in, someone who knows the football club, someone who has played or, worn the shirt and loves and adores the club as well. And someone, most importantly as well, or a team of people that the club and the fans who are going to get behind, because some of the fans at the moment, and I know a lot of them, people have just done enough, and some people aren't even going to the games at the moment. The games that I've been to recently, the amount of empty seats, I know the attendances have just been announced what they are, but some of them are far less to what they were actually published. A lot of empty seats, and people have given up. But I tell you what, at the moment, although people have had enough, and they're saying, I've given up on this squad and this team, Spurs, this team do need our support all the way to the very, very end. And I actually think that it is going to go all of the way to the very end in this Premier League season to see whether Spurs are going to get relegated or not. But I tell you what, we need to be starting to pick up points, and fast, because 1 point in our last 5 matches is simply not good enough. And this is another reason why I think Igor Tudor does need to go. I think his approach has been wrong. I think some of his decisions have been wrong. But of course, this isn't all on him. This isn't all his fault. Alan Shearer actually said this in the last couple of days. Spurs are a mess before Igor Tudor come in. So I'm certainly not putting all of this on them, on him. Sorry. And I think that when I said them, I'm thinking about the board, because the board should have been making a decision a lot sooner. Sacking Thomas Frank, a lot sooner than he went out the door. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess, honestly. Dejan Kulusevski hopes to be back for this summer's World Cup. He has been through it. He really has. I feel sorry for him, because of course last 10 months, you remember Ange Postecoglou actually said that Kulusevski's injury was just a knock. It's 10 months ago, and he's still limping around, and he's had a really tough time, but he's trying to remain positive, and he is trying to get back as soon as possible and play at the World Cup in the summer. So I wish him all of the very best. Now Martin Ho, the Spurs Women, he has been absolutely fantastic this season at the Spurs Women, and they've lost their last couple of games against Everton and against Manchester City, but it's actually the first time they've lost 2 games in a row in competitive competition this season. And it says a lot that a club wants to offer the manager a brand new contract in the March, and he only arrived in the summer. So I think that tells you everything that you need to know. But if you listen to his piece there that I put in this episode, he talks about ambition a lot, and that's why I wanted to ask that question, because Andy Rodgers, the managing director of the Spurs Women, he often talks about he wants Martin to lead the Spurs Women into being a competitive team in the top 3, and also wanting to see the Spurs Women, challenge for top honours, including the WSL. So, but the Spurs Women are definitely going in the right direction, and I personally think that Martin Ho is definitely the man to guide the Spurs Women to success in the future, and competing at the highest level. But of course, Manchester United, Manchester City, Chelsea, Arsenal, all four of them at the moment are the top clubs in the WSL. Spurs are fifth. So it is about ruffling those feathers now next season. You know, there has been a lot of progress, but as it was mentioned in the press conference as well on Friday, that the last couple of managers, Rhian Skinner and Robert Villaham, they have done extremely well in their first seasons, but it is all about the second season and beyond. So let's hope that the Spurs Women and Martin Ho in particular gets that backing again in transfer windows to make the squad a lot better. A lot bigger as well, because they've come very close this season to achieving or finishing in a Champions League spot. It looks unlikely now, very unlikely, but next season you never know if that backing does continue. But it's great to see and hear Martin talk about the ambitions of the football club. Let's hope that we do see that next season as well. But of course, I think a lot of people will be shouting at the screen now saying we want to be seeing this ambition on the men's side as well. We want to be seeing it on all fronts, men's, women's, and of course the academy. One of the academy teams are doing extremely well. The under 18s, they're top of the under 18 Premier League. So that is a shining light for this season. But yeah, onwards and upwards, things need to improve. I hope in the next couple of days we hear about Igor Tudor being replaced with somebody else to give us a real chance of keeping us in the Premier League for next year. Thanks for watching and thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. If you're watching on YouTube, please do hit that subscribe button, like, share and comment below. And if you listen to this on an audio platform, please do hit that follow button and leave a review if you can. Stay safe and well. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll see you in the next one. Come on, you Spurs.